Yes.
There we go. Wait, Chris, did you open the beer already?
Yes, I did.
Oh, was I cackling through it? I didn't even hear it.
You were cackling.
I was cackling. Oh,
No one heard.
that's gonna be that's gonna be a great little thumbnail, Chris, because pretty much the first, like, I don't know, 1 second we go live is what ends up being like freeze framed on like the when you scroll past it.
Right.
And half the time it's me like, and I mean, of course I did that again, but your face is like all the way in there.
Right.
Well, we were just
It'll attract more viewers, I'm sure.
I completely agree. I completely agree. You know, we're entertaining, Chris. We're entertaining, and I'm proud of that. You know, I'm just trying to get onto. All right. Oh, good. You know, I'm always tracking on Facebook, so I need to get into the stream here. But anyhow, we were just talking about how I am using a brand new laptop so that I can get back into my poetry music project that I've been working on. And it's a very fabulous brand new MacBook Pro. But I'm realizing that the camera is, for whatever reason, so super zoomed in compared to my other computer. So I'm like actually sitting a bit far back so that my face is, so that it's not all just cheeks. So Chris was imitating that in the first second, if you caught the first second, if you happened to be here at that time.
You got the latest, greatest, Apple technology cameras here. You can see like every pore.
You could see like the purple light glistening off my face.
You start sweating later.
Sweating. Just see like in HD the beads of sweat rolling off my face. To be honest, Chris, I rarely face sweat on the stream. But since I'm sitting down for a long time, I get other kinds of sweat out. I don't want to be gross.
Oh boy.
No, really. It's, you know, it's hard. It's hard having a booty in this chair. Sorry, Chris. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Let's take a poll of our listeners to see if that's a problem for anyone.
That's a problem. Well, and you know,
watching and probably sweating profusely because
someone just put a heart emoji in the chat.
Especially when we get the erotic.
Thank you for that. Whoever sent the heart.
Start blitzing all over the place.
Oh, Chris, that is just too funny. That is just too funny. Well, anyways, I am so excited to have my new laptop. I hope I don't forget and end up getting way too close to the camera. I'll try and play with my settings before next week at least. But
that's the thing. Like it would be, like you could zoom out or zoom in on this.
I think I can. I just, I just signed in here too close to 0 hour to play with it. I just signed in and needed to send the link, and I was like this. So close, so close. But I can't wait to start working on, poetry music, on the different, these different projects that I've had in mind related to pairing poems with music. So hopefully I'll be able to share those soon on my social media, The Story of How, and stay tuned for that. Anyways, Chris, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good, I'd say. It was fine.
Excellent.
It was pretty laid back, and I appreciated that. And yeah, it's good. It's good. Nothing particularly special, but it's fine. The weather was nice, so got out in the garden a little bit.
Hey, lovely. It was really lovely weather. It was really, really nice. It was a little chilly today, but so sunny, and just the buds are popping on the trees.
But you get out in that garden and you start pulling things, and we're talking about sweat. It comes. It happens.
It was sweaty. It was a sweaty situation out there, Chris.
I was getting sweaty.
Getting sweaty. Did you pop a nice cold one after that,
I
Chris?
didn't. I had to prepare my. I had to keep my wits about me.
Oh,
Well,
darn.
this was like 11 in the morning, so it was,
Oh, well, it's not too late for, brunch mimosas. Chris, do you like mimosas?
sure, well, of course.
Of course. Who doesn't like mimosas? That's just, that would be just wrong.
I don't do that very often. But,
Ah, I see. I see. Anyhow, it is 8 o'clock. It's time for our official welcome to FUMFA 92. Oh, I'm getting too close to the camera already, Chris. I'm
getting excited.
Godzillaing everyone.
I'm just excited.
We are so excited to have with us tonight Marissa Prada and also Mackenzie Hurlbert. They're going to be sharing with you tonight. It's going to be awesome, and we'll have our regular Q&A. And thank you so much for coming out at our time change, our first time change show of the late spring, starting at 8 p.m., which is perfect. Gives you more wonderful time outside in the glorious weather, as you should have. And it's going to be a great show. But Chris, tell them, what do we have coming up in the next few weeks?
Well, let's see. Next week we have a FUMFA All-Star evening of readings by our friends Meg McGovern and Tom Siegel.
Nice.
Coming back, she's got a brand new book out, and Meg has a book. I don't know how recent Meg's book is, but Tom's is fresh off the presses.
Yes, so. I should check.
But anyway, they'll both be here reading from their respective tomes. And the following week, Mother's Day, we have our LGBTQ night on Mother's Day. We're going to celebrate that with Jen Boulette, who has curated a whole crew of LGBTQ writers. And so we're going to have a groovy time on the 8th of May for Mother's Day. The week after that, we have Publishing Night,
Woo!
Known as Pub Night, with our friends from Spry Literary Journal. That's Aaron Olilla and Lindsay Jane, and as well as our friends from the Causeway Lit.
All FUMFA presses, publications. Very exciting.
All FUMFA alums and current FUMFA people. So and then we're taking a little vacation.
Yeah.
As they say in Italy.
Exactly, Chris. Exactly. It's an end of the spring semester, and it kind of just provides a beautiful little break. It gives everybody a little Memorial Day weekend off.
That's
and
right.
Then we'll be back at you in June. And you know what? We've been so busy with everything, we hardly got a chance to pat ourselves on the back for basically planning all the way through mid-July already. So, Chris, pat. Yeah. It's very exciting.
We've got it going on. We got people all lined up to be on this program, and you'll see why as soon as our readers start, because
it's very exciting. Chris, I'm feeling so slightly disoriented because last week we were off. I missed you all, and the weekend before that, the Sunday before that, I was toggling between StreamYard and Zoom to do a screenwriter night with Matt Madden, which was incredible. It was so much fun, but that was tricky to manage between the various tabs and the flow of the volume, etc., the sound. And now I'm on my brand new computer, so if I look dorky at all, it's because I'm dealing with the camera zoom in and the
dork filter is turned on. You're supposed to
exactly. But anyways, Chris,
mine's on as well, so it's stuck on.
I typically have a pretty permanent dork filter on my existence, and I'm proud of it. Oh, one of our audience members here said, "Don't worry, you look great." Thank you. Of course, Mom says hi. Hello to our wonderful audience, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Thank you for tuning in. Chris, since I see Marissa in the backstage, What should our order? What should our order be, Chris? Make an executive
All right.
decision.
Oh my, you're gonna have me make the executive decision.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Or you know what? I think Mackenzie was raring to go first.
Because Marissa, we were having some technical issues. We were a little afraid, so we said, Mackenzie, can you go first? She said yes.
Yes.
And so
Enthusiastically.
ready and raring to go. So I think we should start with Mackenzie.
I think okay. Let's do that. We're gonna have Mackenzie up first. Marissa will be second tonight, but she's backstage. She looks amazing. It'll be perfect. Let's invite up Mackenzie Hurlbert. Welcome, Mackenzie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We are so excited to hear you. I will go ahead and share your bio with our audience. All right. Okay, I think I'm going to need to kind of get closer to the screen.
Already starting.
Anyways, Mackenzie Hurlbert is a Connecticut-based writer with previous publications in Written Tales Horror, the CT Literary Anthology, where we've had so many wonderful guests from this season, Flash Fiction Magazine 521s, the Slideshow, and the Caravel Journal. She received honorable mention in the Writer's Digest Popular Fiction Awards for her story Milk Teeth, and most recently, 2 of her short stories placed in the Writer's Digest 90th Annual Writing Competition. That's awesome. She studied at Southern Connecticut State University in New Haven, CT, and enjoys reading books on her porch with her Velcro pup, Solo. Oh, I'm dying to know more about Solo. Anyways, Mackenzie, we are so excited to hear you. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Very excited to be here. You might learn more about Solo if he decides to make a cameo appearance, but I've hidden all of the squeaky toys, so hopefully that is not an issue. But I have 2 stories to read tonight. I might have a third if there's time to squeak it in. The first is titled Timber, and it was published in Written Tales magazine. Here we go. The tree fell at precisely the same moment Wilson's Audi came to a full stop. The line of traffic ahead of him and the minivan riding his bumper boxed him in. He looked up through his sunroof and watched the limbs reach toward him. In that instant, he thought of the mice back in the lab. This must be what they see, he thought. One hand reaching from the light to trap them, to lift them by their tails and prick them with needles. Or was he more like the rabbits, with leaky, bloodshot eyes, a slight scare and they'd freeze in place, stunned into stillness until a gloved hand grabbed them by the nape of their necks? Mouth open, Wilson watched as the tree shadowed him, eclipsing the sun with its thick shape. He wasn't listening as the radio DJ announced that his favorite, Billy Joel, would be up next after the commercial. As the tree leaned closer, he didn't think about his wife, son, or mom. He didn't even think about death or its inevitability. Instead, he thought, what a shame. He wondered what his insurance would cover, and if he'd have to drive his wife's Honda, whose engine sounded tinny and strange compared to the Audi's purr. Branches filled the air over his head, and with a moan, the tree tilted further, faster over him. No, Wilson thought, it wants you, not the car. One hand drifted down to free his seatbelt, which unclicked easily. While his mind told his other hand to reach for the door, muscle memory took over, and instead it turned on the wipers. They flapped noisily across his windshield, drawing his eyes away from the sunroof. He remembered that time the rat on antidepressants kept walking the walls of the tank with its side against the floor, as if its world had tilted by 90 degrees. Later, it chewed its own tail off. Beyond the thrashing wipers, traffic was at a standstill. The van behind him honked its horn, one long, shrill beep that echoed in his skull. He heard the scratch of branches hitting glass. Looking back through the sunroof, he saw the crevices of the tree bark like a fingerprint pressed down. The glass cracked and caved. The roof of his car smashed into his head in one sharp blow that turned his vision purple and misty. It pressed deeper, pushing him down into his seat and slamming his cheek against the steering wheel. Pinned, he looked out his side window. His world swayed as he tasted copper. Down the length of the tree, he saw red-eyed mice swarming toward him. A few harlequin rabbits watched, chewing contently. And while he couldn't see it, Wilson felt a rat bite into the exposed skin around his left ankle. He screamed once. In his final breaths, the radio commercials played on as a pawnbroker practiced his bad Schwarzenegger impression, promising shoppers they'll be back. There was a moment of dead air as Wilson shuddered and stilled. By the time the surrounding drivers left their cars and ran to free him, his pulse had stopped. The steady beats of the opening to Uptown Girl broke the radio's silence. The sun shone a little brighter, glistening off the broken glass, scattered across the pavement like confetti. So that was just a short little piece, I thought, in honor of Earth Day. My next piece was published in Coffin Bell. It is another horror story. It's a little bit longer. Here we go. It's titled The Undertaker's Kid. Gabe swung his feet from his perch on the second table and watched his father apply the foundation first, dabbing softly with a plush pad and then brushing finishing powder and blush over her still cheeks. Next, he used a piece of fine foam shaped like a cat tongue to apply the subtle, shimmery eyeshadow, and then he coated her eyelashes with mascara. Lastly, the lipstick, a soft, rosy hue her daughter Lois had passed along, insisting it was her favorite. His father used a Kleenex to dab the excess lipstick from her mouth and stood back, assessing a job well done. Their neighbor, Mrs. Amos, glowed. Her skin was soft and smooth, her lips plump and full thanks to the foam inserts his father had carefully placed over her front teeth before sticking her lips together with tack. She hadn't looked so well in the years Gabe had known her, but his father smiled and said softly, "Yes, just as she would have wanted." Gabe nodded and shifted his gaze away from the body. It made his pulse race to see how comfortable his father was with the dead. All soft touches and hushed words as if she might wake up and wonder why she was in a strange basement dressed in her Sunday best. Often, Gabe wished his dad was a pharmacist or a mechanic, maybe even a garbage man instead of a mortician. He could never escape the funeral home's shadow. From the grocery store to the local diner, Gabe was known as the Undertaker's Kid. His schoolmates all avoided him, as if he was haunted. Last week, his class had dissected frogs, and Gabe was paired with Billy, a wiry, hard-edged boy who always looked dirty. Before they could even begin the dissection, Billy held their frog up by one limp leg and swung it high like a lasso for all to see. Droplets of formaldehyde showered all at his lab bench, including Gabe, and as the three girls nearby shrieked and ran for cover, Billy had smiled and stared straight into Gabe's eyes. "Smells just like home, doesn't it?" And then he laughed, and the teacher, Mrs. S., put down the paper she was grading and shouted over the girls' shrieks, "Billy, that's a lunch detention." Gabe didn't tell his dad about that, no. He just spent the rest of the day smelling sour like dead frog and then came home, showered, and ate a dinner of leftovers while his dad dealt with the next day's dead downstairs. That night he had looked out his bedroom window, as he often did, over the quiet road outside and into the softly lit rooms of his neighbors. He wasn't being a creep, or at least he didn't intend to be, but on nights like those when he couldn't sleep, he'd sit in the dark and watch the lives around him continue on in their normal, completely mundane way. "Gabe, help me with your feet, won't you?" his father asked. Mrs. Amos had huge, knobby feet swollen by diabetes. Her toes were curled upward, crowned by thick yellow toenails that stuck out at odd angles. At the moment, his father was trying to wedge them into her violet heels her daughter had sent over, which Gabe guessed hadn't been worn since the 90s. Whenever he saw her, Mrs. Amos had been shuffling around in raggedy, fleece-lined moccasins. Gabe hopped off the table and grabbed Mrs. Amos's cold ankle, holding it in place so his dad could get the shoe on. He managed to trap her toes in it, but there was no way the rest of her foot would fit. His dad tried the other foot, grunting with effort as he twisted and pushed, but no matter how they tried, the shoes weren't going on. "The bottom half will be closed anyway, right?" Gabe said. Sometimes the family preferred that, as if the deceased were tucked in, their top half peeking out, while the rest of them nestled beneath a walnut and plush-lined comforter. His father scratched his head. Lois hasn't decided yet. Gabe shrugged and headed for the door. I'm hidden the hay. He paused, regretting the slip. That was a phrase his mom used to say a lot. Good night. Night, his dad mumbled, seemingly unperturbed. He continued to stare at Mrs. Amos's feet in the violet heels. Gabe walked up one floor to the funeral home and then up another to their actual home. After stopping in the kitchen for a bag of Doritos, he ventured up once more to the third floor, a converted attic, which included his bedroom and what used to be his mom's art studio before she split 2 years back. His dad never asked about her reasons for leaving. Never talked about her reasons for leaving, but Gabe knew enough. She was in Massachusetts the last time she wrote, still living with the lobsterman she met online. She was the reason why there were no more computers in their home. If Gabe needed a computer, he had to walk down to the basement and use the old gateway in his dad's chilly back office. Usually, he just went to the library. Gabe sat in the dark by his window, watched the neighbors, and ate his Doritos. There weren't many left, and soon his fingers were pinching the crumbs at the bottom corners of the bag. He watched the Ellis family across the road to his right recline on their couch with their dog, their faces blue in the TV light. Their daughter was in his grade, but they didn't talk much. The dog, a terrier mix, had his head in her lap. Gabe wanted a dog, but his dad said they made too much noise. No one wants to hear barking while they're grieving their loved one. Gabe tipped the bag back and dumped the rest of the crumbs into his mouth. He looked over to Mr. Fieldman's house, or Ray, as his dad called him. The grumpy old man had been there as long as Gabe remembered, and as far as he knew, Mr. Fieldman's vocabulary was limited to harumph and yup. This night, the man sat at his usual place by the dining room table beyond the sliding glass doors and pored over what looked like a puzzle of hot air balloons. The house directly across from him, Mrs. Amos's, was dark. Its windows 2 black gaping holes where light once shone in soft yellows. Gabe tried not to watch Mrs. Amos. She was a family friend he knew and deserved her privacy. Still, when the Ellises went to bed and Mr. Fieldman clicked off his dining room light, Mrs. Amos was always there, crocheting in the living room or folding laundry in her bedroom. She smoked cigarettes secretively, he knew because she hid the pack in her top drawer, and never smoked when her daughter came to visit. She wore a long flannel nightgown to bed, and she often looked in the mirror, touching the bags under her eyes and the jowls below her chin before shutting off the lights for the night. Gabe licked the orange dust from his... Ooh, sorry, and there's Solo. I hope nobody got startled. Okay. Gabe licked the orange dust from his fingers and tried not to think about the last time he saw Mrs. Amos. The last time I saw her alive, he revised, thinking of the body in the basement. It was nothing, he told himself. Nothing happened. He peered into the Doritos bag and then crumpled it and threw it in the direction of his wastebasket. But if he was going to be completely honest, something had happened, and after seeing Mrs. Amos tonight, all dressed up and lipsticked, he was nauseous with guilt. Not just guilt, but also anger and blame for himself and for Mrs. Amos. She should have known to draw the curtains, Gabe thought. Why hadn't she bought one of those fall detection systems they're always advertising on TV? That night, his dad had work again, so Gabe had been eating little logs of bologna rolled in American cheese. They were salty and delicious, and he wondered what they would taste like dipped in ranch dressing. He read a book until he grew bored, shut off the light, and then turned his attention to the window. The houses were dark except for old Mrs. Amos, who was shuffling around her bedroom in the meager light of her bedside lamp. She was putting clothes away, underwear and socks in the top drawer, shirts below, pants below that. He watched her and nibbled a bit of bologna and wondered how bored she must be, just crocheting and smoking and doing laundry. He never understood how one woman could have to do that much laundry that frequently. When he was about to give up for the night and head to bed, he saw Mrs. Amos jerk and then steady herself on the wardrobe. She rubbed her chest and moved toward the bed, but then she jerked again, a jolt of motion as if she'd been struck by lightning. This time, she fell. As she fell, she looked out the window and into his eyes, and in the split second before her face left his view, he saw it twisted in fear and pain and confusion. He waited, turning only to deposit his plate on his desk, And then when he turned back around, the light in her room had gone out and all was still. The next day, his father received a call and greeted Gabe with the sad news when he got home from school. Mrs. Amos had died. A heart attack, they think, his dad said, rubbing tears from his eyes. He never got emotional about the dead like this, and it made Gabe sour even more with guilt. He put a hand on his dad's shoulder, patted once, and let it fall. It felt like such a small, useless gesture. His dad took a breath and wiped away more tears. She must have fought it the best she could. She knocked over her lamp. They think she was trying to reach the phone. Gabe stopped breathing, thinking of the dark room. She never did make the call. His father said her daughter Lois, who arrived that morning to bring her to a doctor's appointment, found her. So sad, his dad said. That woman's been there since I was a kid. Gabe knew this, of course, but nodded his sympathy all the same. He didn't tell his dad what he saw. His mind raced with all of the could-haves and should-haves. I could have called for her. I should have ran over to check. I could have said something this morning before Lois found her. I should have never been watching. He could have sworn she saw him as she fell. He still wasn't sure whether that look of confusion, pain, and fear was caused by the heart attack or the realization that Gabe had been watching her. Alone in his room, Gabe stared at the dark windows of Mrs. Amos's house and got up to use the bathroom. He was heading back to bed when he heard a clatter of metal somewhere in the house below. It wasn't like his dad to make noise like that. He was always so carefully quiet. Gabe walked down the stairs in bare feet to find the kitchen and living room were empty, and his father's bedroom door was shut. The metal clanged again, and this time Gabe could hear it was coming from the basement. There was a dumbwaiter in their kitchen, which his dad would use to bring food and supplies down. It was easier and less noisy than operating the mechanical lift for the bodies. He could hear the clanging echoing up through the hollow shaft and slid open the wooden door to call down into the darkness. "Dad, all good?" He could see light peeking through the opening below, but received no response. He heard the metal clang again. Gabe padded down the stairs through the silent, dark rooms of the funeral home and below into the basement. His father must have had his headphones on, but there was no reason for Mrs. Amos to be taking this long. Gabe sighed and felt sorry for himself. He didn't know any other 12-year-olds who had to parent their parents. Then again, he barely knew the other kids at school. He wasn't exactly popular. He entered the lab expecting to find his father bobbing his head to music and sweeping up some mess. Instead, he found Mrs. Amos. Her head had rolled to the side, and her eyes were open. His dad must have not glued them tight enough. He tended to go light, so the appearance remained natural. Reclined on the table, Mrs. Amos watched him enter. With a quick glimpse, Gabe surveyed the room. A tray full of instruments and applicators had been knocked off the table, its contents strewn across the floor. He avoided her gaze and walked back to his dad's office. "Dad?" It was empty and dark. The computer was off. An unfinished cup of coffee had grown cold, and there was no sign of what could have caused the noise. When Gabe turned back around to the mort room, Mrs. Amos was sitting up and watching him with wet, milky eyes. The air left Gabe's lungs. Mrs. Amos struggled to part her lips. He could see her tongue pressing and pushing her lip out farther and farther until in one painful rip her mouth opened to a smile and she spit the foam pads on the floor. Her eyes stayed on Gabe. "You are naughty," she said in her wavery old lady voice. Gabe swallowed and blinked hard, hoping he was dreaming. Mrs. Amos lifted a well-manicured hand and pointed at him. "You were naughty spying on me like that," Mrs. Amos said. Her smile shifted to a scowl. "You saw me fall, and you did nothing, young man. Why?" Gabe backed up. There was no way this was real. He was dreaming. "She is dead," he told himself. "She is dead. She is dead." "I asked you a question," Mrs. Amos said. When his back hit the cement wall, he jolted stiff. No escape. I didn't mean it," he stuttered. "I saw your light out. I thought you were okay." She broke into a smile again. "Oh, Gabe, my boy," she said. "You know better than to lie to Mrs. Amos." Gabe's heart beat painfully in his chest. He could hear the echoes of it course through his limbs. I'm sorry." Those two words sounded so pitiful, so useless. Mrs. Amos began to laugh. It was a phlegmy chuckle that started soft and slow until it resonated in her chest louder than any noise Gabe had ever heard before. As it grew, her smile spread and she laughed a wide-mouthed, hacking cackle. Her lips continued to open wider and her top dentures wobbled out and clattered to the floor. As her laughter turned into a gurgle, a shadow emerged from the black cavity of her mouth. It was the slick head and body of a frog, followed by its gangly, limp legs. Mrs. Amos spit up murky pond water as the frog slid loosely from between her lips, its eyes milky like hers. It landed sloppily on the curve of her chest and then tumbled down onto the table where she sat. With jerky movements, its legs twitched to fold beneath itself. Its head rose to look at Gabe. Gabe crumpled back against the wall and screamed as Mrs. Amos's laughter continued on. Her milky eyes rolled wildly behind feathered lashes, and the frog hopped off the table and onto the floor with a wet splat. She kicked her ugly feet in glee and laughed in croupy, cough-like exhales that reeked of cigarettes. Gabe closed his eyes and cried into his hands, wailing and moaning and wishing he could burn this from his mind, wishing his dad was here, wishing he never had spied on the neighbors, and wishing his mom hadn't used a computer to meet the lobsterman. In some other reality, he could spend his nights gaming with the rest of the boys from school instead of hiding in his dark bedroom, watching angry men complete puzzles and pretty girls pet their dogs and old women fight off loneliness. Between the web of his fingers, Gabe saw Mrs. Amos's feet drop to the floor. He moaned as she slowly shuffled over to him. When her wet lips met the tight, soft skin of his temple, he pressed as hard as he could into the wall and screamed until his throat ran dry. By the time his father got to him, Gabe was silent, but still trembling. His dad hugged him close to calm him down, but there was nothing, just a knocked-over metal instrument tray at Gabe's feet and Mrs. Amos, resting peacefully, her eyes closed and face serene. Warm arms, Gabe thought. He couldn't remember the last time someone had hugged him. His father held him tightly until he stopped shaking. Kissing the top of his head, he breathed in his son's scent and was surprised to smell a faint hint of cigarette smoke and something he couldn't quite place, but Gabe knew to be pond water. Okay, so that was my second.
Oh my God! Mackenzie, that was an awesome and horrifying story. That is probably the scary. Chris, is that wins the number one scariest? Awesome, scary. Really on here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I love horror stories. I love them, but we,
Oh, it was so good though.
Thanks.
I'm gonna have nightmares.
Mackenzie, that was so powerful in all of these characters that you created. I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the creepiness and the guilt and just kind of how lonely and weird this poor, adolescent boy is feeling. And then this horrifying scene at the end, but then this very, very moving ending with the creepy smell of cigarette smoke. Oh, it's so good. Oh, I can't do horror. I get too scared, but I mean, when it's done well, it is so awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Solo missed his cue because it was, there was the whole thing about we can't have a dog because they bark too much, and then that was his
Dude, timing.
But it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Mackenzie, that was so awesome. And we're going to have many questions for you in the Q&A. Everybody get those questions ready for Mackenzie. That was just really, really awesome. And of course, later after the show, you got to go take a look at all of the love you've received in the chat. I have a lot of screaming faces in the chat. on Facebook and YouTube. So you'll have to check that out. That was really, really awesome. Anyways, Mackenzie, we will see you in the Q&A. Thank you so much. Yes. All right, Chris. Whoa, wasn't that, wow. Have we ever had like a true horror piece on here?
That as Mackenzie was reading, I was like, oh, we need to do a horror night, like
yeah,
Halloween maybe or something,
Deb Carr had a pretty scary one.
She did.
She did a pretty scary one. Here and there, we had spooky night.
Did have spooky night,
But none of them got me quite like that. I mean, they were great pieces, great readings, but
not the old lady on the coming alive in the mortuary spooky. It wasn't like that.
No. Wow, that was really awesome. I put a lot of emojis in the chat there. I was feeling it. But what an incredible reading. Anyhow, that was incredible, and excited to ask Mackenzie lots of questions about that in our Q&A. But we need to welcome our second feature reader of the evening, Marissa Prada.
Hey, hello, Katie. Hello, everyone. FUMFA! I'm so excited to be here. Let's go.
Yes,
Mackenzie, that was amazing. She's amazing, right?
Totally. Oh my God, it was awesome. It was just an incredible reading, wasn't it?
I love horror. I love horror anything. My 12-year-old daughter likes horror anything, so we share that. Mackenzie, yes, all day. Let's go. I love it.
It was so cool. So cool. Marissa, we're so excited to welcome you. I just want to say, I know Chris is about to read your bio, but you are the founder, publisher of Red or Green Books, and we are friends with so many of your poets who you publish. And we had the 10 poets on, a few months back, and it was just incredible. And it's such a treat to have you here tonight. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. I've got my shirt today too.
Oh, look at that.
I love it.
Cheap shot, anything to get to look at, the middle part. Just kidding.
Yeah, that's right.
I totally forgot to ask you, erotica is okay, right?
Totally okay.
We
love spicy readings. We could tell you more about in the Q&A. We have a good time. Please feel free to read anything you'd like to read, of course, barring anything offensive, which will not happen, of course. But yeah, spicy is welcomed. Feel free to swear if needed.
Okay. Oh yeah, there's plenty of that tonight too.
Oh, great.
We like spicy. First,
we do.
First,
Go ahead, Chris.
Let me do the bio here first. So let's see. Marissa Prada is a poet, author, and spoken word artist and publisher from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I wonder if Susan Davis is watching tonight because she's about to move to Albuquerque.
I think actually she said she wasn't going to move. I don't know. We need to ask Susan about the update.
Oh, that fell through. Okay. Anyway, Marissa is polyamorous and a mother of 2 daughters. She loves books, authors, and advocates for poetry and the literary arts. She began journaling in high school to cope with teenage stress and trauma. Poetry is the heart of her passion for the past 20 plus years and has seen her through surviving death twice in her life. We're going to ask some questions. Marissa is the founder of Red or Green Books. That's READ or Green Books, a female-forward press that publishes many debut poetry collections. She authors Poetography 505 on Facebook and is the creative director for The Word Is Right, WRITE, on Facebook and Instagram. Marissa currently sits on the board of directors for the New Mexico State Poetry Society and is a member of the women's poetry group Tesoro. She has been included in We Don't Break, We Burn, Poems of Resilience by Mindwell Poetry Press, Milk and Honey, assembled by Samantha Swain, Touching Tongues, we've heard about that before.
Yes, we have.
Poetic anthology, as well as multiple international poetry anthologies, magazines, and journals. Her current collection of poetry, Conversations with Grief, is available for purchase through Red or Green Books. Her next collection, Barfing Up the Butterflies, will debut this summer. You can check out all her handles and social media stuff on our website, or not on our website, but on our Facebook page, because there's too many to name here. But just go check it out if you want to look up all great stuff.
Follow Marissa on everything.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere.
Take it away.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Katie, so much. All right, so I tend not to do a lot of trigger warnings with poetry, but with respect to the platform and all of you who are watching, I'm going to give you a couple trigger warnings tonight. You're going to hear erotic work. You're going to hear explicit sexual content, not in everything, Okay, but in a few things. You're also going to hear profanity, and you're also going to hear about a miscarriage poem that is pretty intense, but I think it's really important to speak to for women. So understand that some of the things you might hear tonight are traumatic. So I'm going to take you in slowly, and then I'm going to just drop down and get you down at the bottom early, and I'm going to pull you up, okay? So don't worry. Stay on this ride with me. I got you. This first poem is titled Past Lives. I wrote it in a Guerrilla Poets workshop. Pulling out my inner child is like removing a hot dish from the oven without pot holders for protection. It's going to leave a mark. The mountains of my home always smelled of wildflowers and dust. Cool winds carried sparrows that built mud nests under the sheltered parts of our porch. Their babies would fall out, and I would pick up their naked corpses, dark eyes bulging big, beak, wings, feet. Could see it would have been a bird. We had an orange-striped cat named Tigger who lived in the barn beside our house. I once watched that cat carefully dismantle a mouse, eating all fur and skin first, then inhale the carcass head first, entrails popping out, leaving a minimum amount of blood on the ground. I used to get shoved down on the playground until my mouth was full of dirt. I spent most of my before I could remember time in that barn. Even after the laughter of horses had vacated and weeds had overgrown stalls, when shit had returned back to earth and all had fallen quiet, I'd still run around that corral, as if I belonged there, belonged more there than in the house. The bigger I grew, the smaller my mother made me feel on husband number 3. I ran away 4 times that I can remember growing up. I wish I could have grabbed the mane and swung up on the back of that black Frisian stallion, ran down the road to the highway and into the unknown. It was much better than the known, for I was the mouse, and the house was consuming my skin, feasting on my insides, while slowly devouring the last drops of girl that I contained. I was the baby bird, dried and stuck to the concrete, the forgotten future of humanity by a school that only held bullies and detention after fistfights. Explains why I so easily accept disappearance as an adult, as a woman, as a mother. Moving on to my second piece tonight. This is directly from my book, Conversations with Grief. This is the section about grief and motherhood. It is titled Just Misplaced, Trigger Warning for Miscarriage. This poem was written for Sarah. I've always lost things. I misplaced every house key growing up, homework I was supposed to turn in, even a shoe on the way to school one morning. I've always lost things. I would be scolded, yelled at, long finger of blame wagging shame into me. I've always regretted losing things. So as an adult, I've never lost a thing again. Routine visit, gel squirted across my moon-shaped belly, cold, wet. Such weight on my stomach as the wand slid across my skin. Black and white smeary blur on a screen. I make believe your face in my mind. Must wait for now. Another month still to go. That was the plan. And things always go according to plan. The ultrasound wand moved and moved, yet you did not. I waited to hear the raspy rhythm of your life growing inside mine until the disappearance of your heartbeat. As if I was somehow asleep, needed to shake me, wake me, feel you kick the walls of my body again. But somehow you just fell asleep. You were right there. I could see your tiny face, arms, hands, legs, crossed, toes curled, still tethered to my body. You were not gone. You were right there. The air clung to silence like I clung to the rails of the bed, white knuckles, pale face. My heart might as well have stopped too. No one spoke. My lungs forced open, my face aspirate on the resistant ripcord of air I choked on between the tears. Every rib splintered in my chest, pierced my heart, tore into my sideways sobs and spit that dripped from my mouth, muted in disbelief. I felt every contraction, every pain. As you came into the light your eyes never got to see. As you spilled forth into a world that would never hear your cries. Oh, how silent the night was, and has been every night since. You smelled nothing of death. You felt as warm as me, peaceful look on your cherub face. Never to see me, never to smell me, never to suckle my breast or smile at each other's faces. But I smiled through saltwater eyes, for you had 10 fingers and 10 toes. Your nose was the same as mine, swaddled in that striped hospital blanket. You were so light in my arms, as if your soul leaving lifted your weight, gave me strength to hold you to my chest as my heart begged to beat for yours. How long I laid there, I still cannot recall. The only sensation I take with me is your smell and your beautiful, tiny face. For you were not lost, just misplaced. Oh, dang, that poem, it just wrecks me. All right, we're going to keep moving. I promise I'm not going to leave you here. Thank you for that. This next poem is titled Funerals Instead of Detention. This I wrote in response to our very first fatal school shooting at the beginning of this school year here in Albuquerque. And it's written as a slam poem. Okay, you guys are going to hear some slam poetry tonight. First days of school are special. First days of a new school in a new grade with new teachers and friends are fabrics that quilt together proud parental memories. This year, my daughter started middle school. What an adventure. My dad used to tell me all kinds of adult jokes, some about Jimmy Hoffa floating through a manhole in New York City. I mean, who was Jimmy Hoffa and what the hell was a manhole anyway? But my teachers laughed. I always had jokes back then, before children died at school. Back when it was monkey bars instead of manslaughter, picture days instead of identifying bodies, PTA meetings instead of wakes, fundraisers instead of funerals, lunch lines instead of processions, ball games instead of burials, concerns of COVID over needing Kevlar. You see, at some point the laughing goes quiet because there is nothing funny about another fatal school shooting. Imagine 2 boys, 13 years old, 8th grade. One boy bullies another. When his friend confronts the bully, see something, say something, right? The 2 boys get into an argument. The next day, lunchtime, bully brings father's gun in backpack, weighted down weight of who knows what, ready to end a life. Shoots the boy who stood up against him, left to bleed out in the one patch of grass on the playground beside the track. The last place his parents said goodbye. Multiple shots fired, multiple gunshot wounds, children scatter, child seeps blood from body until the last breath evaporates from his face. Armed school police detain the school shooter, 13-year-old kid, second day of school. He died, another statistic, child violence, school shooting, sent to the safe space. That's supposed to be school. Don't you dare tell me school hasn't been safe for a long time, as if that's supposed to be some sort of comfort, that babies still find their beds 6 feet underneath a society that hasn't lost enough yet. Don't tell me not to worry when I drop my kids off at school. Fuck this being the norm. Fuck this being part of living in Albuquerque. Fuck this being part of growing up. My daughter hugged me goodnight tonight. And as I glanced at the magnets on the refrigerator, I realized there's a mother out there unable to hug her child because he's in the morgue. And now I'm holding my child saying, good night, sleep tight, mommy loves you. Talking with my daughters about this, I told them if they see someone getting bullied to get adult help, not to intervene, not to speak up, not to draw attention to themselves. Then explain why they can't do the very basic human reaction. Help someone in need. Because when I hug my children goodbye at school and watch them walk away, I pray they live another day. Thank you. Whew, breathe. We're on this journey together, you guys. I'm here. I'm not leaving. And I know you guys are here too. So let's do this. We got to talk about the hard stuff, right? We got to as poets. So this is a colorful slam poem I wrote in response to the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. Shh. Don't say gay. It's a gateway drug. Well, here's what I say to your shushing. Gay, 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 motherfucking gay. I will say gay anytime I want because I am not against the law. We are not against the law. And if you say it is the law, then the law is wrong. Laws written by straight white men with their dicks so far up in the Bible, hoping their own gay tendencies won't send them to hell and pray. No one talks about private parts. Laws championed by scared adults who make their problems their children's problems, who haven't unpacked their own crap so they pass around trauma instead of progress at the dinner table. We need to say gay. We need to say gay often and early while valuing people equally. Tell me, what age do you think kids should know their gender? Dress them in blue or pink, give them titles, boy or girl, which bathroom to use? When we all shit. When is it age appropriate to learn compassion and community, acceptance and empathy, to teach our children that curiosity won't kill them, that the adults won't shame them for their questions, and it's completely fucking normal to feel different than you look or been told you have to be? What is the age of consent for kids who just want to please? Who can't say no, since no is never taught? It's a whole fucking answer, please. How do we effectively teach sexual health? Queer kids know, and they know early how they feel inside about who they are and what they want. Have you ever talked to a trans kid? Those are some of the strongest humans you will ever meet. If they live, if they choose to live, if they don't get killed. Education is based on fact and study, so educate yourself fact. This year, 2 out of 10 high school kids will seriously consider or attempt suicide. Almost half are gay. The ones who survive, 80% will attempt again in 6 months. And if you say, well, I don't have kids, it's not my problem. Shame on you. Children are the responsibility of the community. You could be a safe adult for them. You could be a friend. Gay is not a clinical condition. Gay children are not under a spell. You cannot catch gay. What they can catch is hate, bullies, bullets, beatings, homelessness, starvation, trafficking, abuse, trauma, rape, death. They can catch it like a cold. Of all the things we have to talk to our kids about in school, fire drills, lockdowns, bullying, active shooters, police brutality. How in the absolute fuck is gender identity and sexual orientation the big no-no? Oh no. Have convos with your kids. Validate their questions and educate yourself. Change the way we see each other, treat each other, love each other. Because I won't go quietly into the abyss of censorship. I say gay. What do you say? Poem. Ah! Let's go! That poem fucking fires me up. All right, this next one fires me up too. Let's go. Back-to-back slam pieces for you all. This is a true story, by the way. This is titled Attention Poets. Here we go. Attention, poets! The patriarchy is alive and well in poetry. God forbid a woman makes moves. Start pushing up poets, start printing their poems, start selling their books. God forbid a woman create a stage with a mic and a spotlight and a crowd calling for more. God forbid a woman write about sex and kink and love or fetish, only to be told that her word skirt is too short by those predator protecting poetry networks that still exist today. God forbid women fast forward the misappropriated clock of misogyny, the gentrification of genitals on women who need to sit down, shut up, bend over, get on our knees, and be grateful we even get to the mic, right? Then suck more cock. Oh, the cock I should have gotten up for that one more shot, for that one more mic night, right? Right in the eye, blindsided by dreams you were selling me, never able to deliver me. Even from my own peers of the pen with their penises in hand, swinging and slinging scores, somehow I should just be glad you allowed me to read at all. Somehow victimizing you as I grind like a girl on a mission from God to set right all the words of women writers flogged into submission for so long now. Regardless of education, no PhD would deem me worthy of anything except kneeling. I'm so sick of the male-dominated dick licking like you mean it just to get in the door organizations run by dickwads who can't recognize the success of women's pens and won't lift a finger unless it's into the ass of a female fucking forgetfulness back into her brain now. I'm not a man-hater, okay? I love men. I love dick. I'm just not down with the clowns that think they can run concentric circles in a woman's world. All you're doing is chasing tail. Your tail. It's a dogma eat dogma world, and I'm starving for a come up into the good old boys club. For when you stand for nothing, your fragile Humpty Dumpty Easter egg ego gets cracked as you fall for everything. So I pat your patriarchal ass on the head, give you back your spotlight mic, and tell you, no, thank you. Well, no, thank you, and go fuck yourself. For we ain't coming for you anymore. But we fucking coming for you. Poem. All right. We're going to start switching gears. I told you I'll bring you guys up. I hope you're all fired up about that.
I just had to. Marissa, you're on fire.
Let's go. Let's go. All right. So I got like 5 more to do, but they're all pretty short. So I hope that's cool. All right. This next one is titled Dreaming in Denial. Well, maybe I'll wait. I'll wait and see if we have time for that one. That was coming up in my Barfing Up the Butterflies poem. All right. So you guys want to switch gears? You want something fun? Because from here on out, it's fun and sexy. So I'm gonna switch. This is a 2-minute poem. I wrote this in 5 minutes in a Tumblewords workshop. It is titled Bagel and Pap Schmear. Ladies, this is for you. My vagina misses light. See, she has to wait every year for that one special day. Just the thought of that cold, hard metal speculum. Oh, and the tiny plastic scraping spatula gets her all riled up. Crinkling white featherweight paper blanket, the doctor enters with her perfect mascara again. Says lay back, but down. The sound of those foot stirrups clink. Man, there's nothing like it. The expectation, the tantra of the entire operation, standing ovation for this current ovulation. The light is on its way. Just give me one good thrust. Nothing like an annual pelvic exam. Hands gloved up with a snap at the wrist, waiting and anticipation. Lube goes on all over her hand. My doctor has the best hands. Nothing like the feel of blue nitrile gloves. Just a too large for her fingers, wrinkling at the ends. And with a pup, she places that speculum right up my special purpose and spreads me like Noah. Her name is Nora. And there it is, sunshine at last. My pussy in her Hawaiian shirt and sun hat, hair fluttering in the breeze, toes in the sand, margarita in her hand. Followed by gooey gloved finger love, they go to town on my corridor. I have to close my eyes and breathe. Remember to keep it professional as darkness gives way to light, radically amazed at her swift vaginal doctor skills. And in just a moment, it is over, and the pressure is gone, and so is she. Goodbye, speculum and scraping spatula. Goodbye, nitrile gloves and gooey lube. Goodbye, white paper blanket in sunlight. See you again next year. Yes. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Let's go. All right. Oh, yes. All right. So we're moving into the erotica, and I'll finish with an oldie but goodie slam piece. So this is straight from my the Women's Erotic Anthology, Touching Tongues. 31 women all over the country are in here. And this is my poem. It's titled Floodgates. All right. I thought my body would crack from between my legs straight up as we fucked. No, not fuck, but make love. A deep, passionate plea to eviscerate all imprisoned in this body. Incarcerated lust, pink pungent pleas from my pussy for that 1 hour of sunshine. 1 hour of air to breathe again as your face burrows between my legs. I starve for your mouth, your hands, your motions, moans, and sounds. You stand over me, dark silhouetted man. Stare at me. Take me in, this woman swaddled in your smell. Your fingers find their fate, edging my attentive nipples. I am so wet, set, ready for you, dripping down my ass and across your sheets already, my flesh poised, throbbing in anticipation that you will cast your life through my core. I clench almost an orgasm as you seize my nipple in a gloriously painful pinch. Your dark eyes almost seem a beast, ready to consume me, salivating adrenaline, poised to ambush. So take me, wreck me, sexy beast. The dark well of my body spills over you. Intense pleasure, overwhelming flight in my core, make me so sore that I cannot sit tomorrow, that I remember this moment, you inside me. Hold me still, hold me tight, bite me, yank my hair, slap my ass, we fall to the floor, throw me up on the wall, mark my entire canvas of skin, for I give it all to you now as I come over and over again, flood from between my legs, a release I've never known, fluid for days, a flood to quench the thirsty, somewhere beyond my body. It moves us, it binds us, it makes us one until my body begins to hush. Our sticky skin, heavy breath, such elation courses through us as we fall together from exhaustion. So rest up, my savior, and we can go at it again. Who need a fan in here after that? I love that poem. Oh my God, I never get tired of reading that poem. All right, 2 more. I'm gonna make you laugh, and then I'm gonna finish with a piece about me, so that you just at least kind of have an idea of who I am. Oh, this is one of my most requested poems, and it is really funny. If you have not heard Covag, this is Covag. It is a pharmaceutical parody poem. Here we go. Ladies with labia, has your vagina caught COVID? Are you experiencing a wheezing, queefing, or crazy camel toe tingling? Are you hating the chafing? Is the squirting hurting? You are not alone. Now you can enjoy relief with the all-new Covag 10 Plus. It works with your clit slit to make sure your beaver box keeps beating. Taking the new Covag 10 Plus is nowhere near clinically proven, but snatch it for your snatch anyway and give your peace sign a new meaning. People taking Covag 10 Plus is not for everyone, so consult your doctor before taking. If you suffer from chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, COVD, I told you so. Yep, it's too late for you, you stupid fuck. The rest of you out there may still have a chance, though. That's right. Do not delay, especially if you have a bulge in your vulva. Moist? Just love to say the word moist. Make the most of this opportunity. Still heed the side effects, which may include spontaneous orgasm, facial hair, the growth of wings in her gills, inability to see a reflection in the mirror, rage, group sex, and the making of finger puppets. Do not take if you have a penis, are near a penis, or plan to have sex with a viable dick in the next 365 days. By then, all long-term side effects of dick decay, better known as cock rot, will have cleared up. If you plan to be near a vagina that's not your own, good on you. Just share the Covag 10 Plus love with your pink taco partner. It doesn't have to be a dream, ladies with labia. Relief is at your fingertips. Again. Do not consume Ready Whip while taking Covag 10 Plus. It may be too fucking sexy, especially straight out of the can. If you actually start to grow a penis, call the coroner. Seriously, call the coroner. People taking Covag 10 Plus are likely to experience dry mouth due to no cock nearby and no Ready Whip. But remember, your penis snuggie needs to 86 the dick till you've completed the Covag 10 Plus course. Only in a large, measurable amount of people has death actually occurred. Do not smoke cigarettes, just marijuana while taking Covag 10 Plus, so you eat pretzel sticks instead of dick sticks. Together we can do this. It's time you took back your badge with Covag 10 Plus. Oh my God, I hope you guys are laughing. I have no idea. Of course, I can't hear anyone. But yeah, I'm giving you a little bit of everything that I do. It's the literary world. All right, I'm going to finish you off with my honest poem. This was inspired by Rudy Francisco's My Honest Poem. I encourage everyone to write an I am poem. Here we go. I am the flight attendant demonstration of the oxygen mask in life raft. I am an immigrant on a work visa in my own life. I am the perfume of garlic and bread that calls you to my kitchen. I am a chipped china doll and a forgettable dusty shell. I am the alarm clock hollering on a hungover holiday morning. I am the cream in your Oreos that makes the calories worth it. I am a middle finger master, a pull shark, not a hustler, and an Easter Sunday exhibitionist. I am a deep, wet kiss that takes your breath away. I am a hoarder of heartbreak, collector of mangled men, lover of forgotten women. I am the Patsy Cline kind of crazy, always for the wrong kind of love. I am the Tracy Chapman chapbook of deadbeat, disappointing men. I am your last meal before the lethal injection. I am Walter White in this welterweight life. I am a depression masochist chained to the bed. I am the triple jump at checkers. I am the antiseptic, not the anesthesia. I am the winner's circle, not a participation trophy. I am the laugh so hard you cry. I am the strong friend you need to check on. I am the Red Ryder BB gun on Christmas morning. I am Christmas-colored enchiladas with an elevated IPA. I am Pinky and Brain, Abbott and Costello. I am the iron and the maiden, the French fry and the frosty. I am a firm handshake and a tight hug. I am the sneeze that makes you pee a little, reminding you to work on your Kegels. I am the sum of all my mistakes. I am quality sleep after quantity masturbation. I am an undefiled shot of espresso in the last shakes of an empty bottle of bourbon. I am the Cheetos fingers you lick at the end of the bag. I am a believer of destiny over decision. I am warm clothes fresh from the dryer and the dirty pile still on the floor. I am a Leo mother and dirty sex lover. I am the coming and the crying after a night with you. I am the first kiss and the last, the I do and divorce decree, the beating and the apology. I am a love letter you will never read, only understood by the stage. I am the spilled milk in your 5-year-old tears. I am the checkered flag right before you crash. I am the word no, 20 years too late. I am a Spanish-speaking Italian woman, an East Mountains wild child, the sum of all the women before me. I am New Mexican, born from iron ladies, a pride of brilliance and courage, a lover and fighter who fights for each precious day. I know who I am. So pick up that heavy mirror and tell me, just who the hell are you? Thank you. Thank you, FUMFA.
Oh, Marissa! Okay. Powerhouse, just absolute powerhouse from the beginning to the end. I was like, I know you guys couldn't hear me backstage. I was snapping, I was screaming, I was crying a little bit. At certain points, I was laughing.
Yeah. I wanted you to have the whole spectrum of emotion tonight.
Oh, and you absolutely did. You absolutely did. You know, and you just electrified us. You know, you're speaking obviously on critical issues, and you are expressing them so powerfully and in a way that resonates so powerfully. And then, you know, the humorous poems, the erotic poems, and then this last poem, just saying who you are. Oh my God, just absolutely powerful and just incredibly resonant. Thank you so much, Marissa. It just, I could just listen to you forever. And I feel empowered. I feel encouraged.
Yes, go write. If you guys do anything, go pick up a pen or a pencil or lipstick and go write something.
Yes! Marissa, I love you. And I wish you lived in Connecticut so we could like hang out all the time.
I will be in New York for the New York City Poetry Festival, so you should come down.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. September, right?
Yes, September over 9/11. We'll be on Governor's Island.
All right. Well, you know, Chris and I were talking about it. I'm definitely planning to be there, Chris. We can make it a thing. Make it a thing.
I would love that.
We have a tent and a booth, and we plan to be there the whole weekend. I'm actually coming in early. I'll be at the New Rican Poets Cafe on Friday night, and then Saturday, Sunday, we're on Governor's Island. And I'm going to actually be staying into the week also, just poeting and stuff with people.
That is incredible, and we'll have to connect at that time. I'm a short train ride away from the city. That would be absolutely incredible.
Okay.
All right, we got to get into Q&A. Chris, you know, we always talk about how there ends up being an interesting serendipitous like synergy connection between our two readers, even if they're kind of coming from like two very different places. And both of you just like electrified us in different ways tonight. Mackenzie Hurlbert and Marissa Prada. One more time. Woo! You're both absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. What a night. What a great night, starting off at 8 p.m. over here, post Easter. You're both special guests tonight, and it was just incredible. Chris, why don't you start them off with our famous first question?
Let's do it. We'll start off with Marissa. So Marissa, how has writing and being a writer changed your life?
So I love to do things that are hard. And I think writing to me was hard at first when I was really young. And it allowed me to express a lot of grief. And that's been it's been so the case in my life that I've been able to write through grief. But I've also, I've dabbled with other things other than poetry. I went into the film industry and did screenplays and novels and other things. And now I'm really bridging into erotica, which I'm learning is not only therapeutic, but it's incredibly empowering.
Totally.
I would say that the majority of the contributors to the anthology are survivors, either of sexual abuse or other sort of sexual exploitation. And so the fact that we can come together as women and empower each other to own our bodies and our desires and get back in touch with that part of ourselves, it's really healing. And it does so much good. And then, of course, the press. I have so much literary work that I you know, we were home for COVID. I was like, I guess I would start this now.
Yeah,
And
let's
then we
do
went online and met poets. Like I never had internet before July of 2020.
No.
I never did. I had my office, or I had, you know, my phone. I didn't need internet, really, not in the house. I mean, I had a hotspot on my phone if I needed print something. But when the world shut down and my kids were going to school online, I was like, okay. And that's where I learned about like Zoom, and I was always
Yes.
Zooming on my phone. And then I started meeting poets, and the world opened up, and it's changed my life, not just the way we communicate with each other, but how close we become with one
Yes.
another. And then being able to now publish our 40th book this year. We will be
That's
publishing our
incredible,
40th in 2
Marissa.
years. Like it's changing lives, and they're changing my life, right?
That's absolutely amazing.
So I hope it's changing. I hope everyone just do it. Just write. Just do it. Even if you never share it with anyone, please just write a letter to yourself and let it change your life, you know.
Amen to that. I completely agree, Marissa. That is so awesome. And to think you went from no internet to internet and getting involved in all of these communities, and now 40 books. Incredible.
Right. I mean, I've been writing for, you know, 25 years.
Yeah.
But it's never been to the global scale that it is now because of COVID.
Right. And, you know, we keep saying like that is kind of the main silver lining, is that kind of driving these different events online, making them more accessible, connecting us to people in different places we wouldn't have maybe met in a venue or in a different, in a certain in-person context. And, you know, now we have all these incredible connections and everything else that kind of births. That is just so amazing.
Yeah. It's so fun.
Totally. And Mackenzie, how has writing changed your life?
I don't think I could imagine my life without writing. It's just such a huge part of how I reflect and how I kind of work my way through things. For me, I think it's a nice outlet in a lot of ways. Like, it can be therapeutic. And in other ways, it's entertainment. Like, I just enjoy creating stories with that twist or that gut punch.
Oh, and you gave it to us.
The pride of, you know, after, you know, rejection of getting an acceptance or seeing my work published in print. Like, that's such a good feeling. And it's such a good feeling in moments like this to share and hear other people's reactions too. I mean, for me, I don't know, writing is just such a good outlet for me of expression, and it's just fun. It's just something I have so much enjoyment doing. So yeah, I love it. It's a bright light in my life for sure.
Given I mean, you write a lot of horror type stories, and you're talking about, you know, writing and being able to express things. And I mean, do you have nightmares and then you write?
Chris. What brings you to horror? That's fascinating.
You know, people often write things. I mean, you know, I write about things that that bug me or whatever, and turn them into stories. And I'm like, well, first of all, did you like grow up in a funeral home? Because that felt
Chris wants to know. He wants to know.
I should definitely start writing horror stories if I grew up in that kind of. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, do you why horror versus, you know, some other genre to express
Or
yourself?
maybe you love horror movies.
Right. Yeah. And you wouldn't guess horror writer looking at me and my voice. I mean, I know I don't really fit the mold.
That's part of what's great about it, you know?
For me, horror, first off, I really enjoy reading horror and watching horror movies. I always have since I was little. Goosebumps books were my favorite. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark was like my favorite show to watch. Twilight Zone, like the New Year's Eve marathons with Twilight Zone. I binged those.
Really?
But when I found myself writing and gravitating or focusing on my story, I always wanted to challenge my characters in different ways that would be relatable to the readers, I guess. So different challenges that readers would face. And I feel like one of the most poignant feelings is fear or dread or that suspenseful feeling of like what is going to happen. So I enjoy that and I enjoy writing it. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of the horror that I write focuses on kind of the hidden monsters of society, you know, like that feeling of isolation, that feeling of loneliness, and what that manifests as. I see that reoccurring a lot in my writing. I also am a huge nature nut. So, I mean, like Mother Earth's revenge and timber is one of like,
yes,
animal testing, you know? So in a way, it's kind of a way for me to address the unseen monsters in society, or the things we might not immediately think of as horrific, but really are. And it's just fun. I just love a good scare, and I love giving a good scare. So
yes, and you're doing it so well. You know, you especially, you know, in the story with you know, with the Gabe, the boy, you know, kind of going through these feelings of guilt and these different experiences that he's having. It is so real. It is kind of getting into this kind of like, you know, this sort of outcast or monster in society, and just kind of, but the realness of that and how relatable it is. And you kind of were so just so excellent at making that feel so resonant, and then kind of bringing us to this super scary place, like building that suspense and then showing us something like surreal and horrifying, and then bringing it to that close with the father. Whoa. You know, it worked so well, and it was so scary, but it was so kind of you know, real and poignant at the same time. I feel like, you know, you must have like read and seen a lot of horror, but also that you have a very clear idea of exactly what you're doing here in these stories. And I think that's incredible. I've never ever approached horror, and I'm just like, oh.
You can do it, Katie. You should just do it.
You know what I should,
Marissa? Pick something benign, like your soup ladle or something. I don't know. Like pick something benign and write about it. Like that's what I do, and I make it erotic. So but you can find the horror element in it.
I love that. Well, I love the way oh my God, it was too funny. The pap smear being like this ecstatic experience.
Oh my God, right? It's hilarious. Like women's health is so important to talk about, right? And if you can like debunk things, I will write a mammogram poem for that too, to go with it. Yeah, I had to go do that this year. So, yeah, I got to know my tech real good. Yeah.
Oh my God, Marissa, I love it. I can't wait for that poem. I can't wait.
I gotta go. I'm getting lonely. I need another appointment, you know. Yes. They know me by name now. That's my cheers. Everyone knows your name. They toast, yeah. That is
too perfect. That is too perfect. Oh, we have a kind of a question, kind of a request question from Nancy. Hey, Nancy. Marissa, tell us about your weekly reading series.
Oh my gosh, Nancy, I love you. She's yeah, okay. So Word is right. We have shows every day of the week. I do, yeah, every day of the week there's a show at Word is Right. In fact, I just added a new show series that I'm going to be doing intermittently, which is music and writing. So I basically play you a 30-minute playlist on a topic, and you write as the music's going, and then you share.
Oh my God, I love that, Marissa. I need to get the program and show up to these.
You gotta come. Like, I know it's hard. You can come every day of the week, because every day of the week something different. We have everything from quiet meditative spaces to cash slams. I started something called the Great Debaters, which is the second Friday of every month. Everyone who comes up into the room is given a number. You're separated into two groups. You're given the resolve. The first opening, when we opened the show, the resolve was cats make better companion animals than dogs.
Uh-oh.
And you have to write to the pro or the con, and you're separated into a breakout room. You're given the assignment and the time allowed, and then everyone's brought back in, and everyone gets a chance to read. There's judges on hand to decide the winner, and of the winners get all the doll hairs, right? And so really, it's just meant to be critical thinking, fun and way for you to use your imagination, and also write to, you're given the pro or con, you don't get to choose, so you sometimes have to write outside of your preference, and that is really fun to do. I host an open mic, a double feature open mic every Saturday night. And then I do Instagram lives Thursdays and Fridays. And I do Moist Mondays, which is an erotic workshop the second and fourth Monday of the month. There's a lot. It's a lot. Nancy is too much. Just go to Wordwrite. Schedule's up there. Yeah.
You need to follow Marissa. You need to get involved. You need to attend. This is incredible, Marissa. I need to get involved.
Yeah, we have 18 people, 18 shows. I think some of them are active, some of them are not right now.
It's a good thing our show is on Sundays.
So Sundays, we had Rainbow Table Talk, but Rainbow Table Talk actually is changing to Out Loud. The LGBTQ anthology is titled Out Loud, and so we're turning that into kind of a podcast panelist Q&A type show discussing LGBTQ issues. And then the other one is it's not Maureen's show. But anyways, so my brain is so fried. But anyways, every day of the week there is something going on.
Well, we're so honored that you're here with us tonight. Those are incredible communities and series, and everyone should check them out. I'm going to definitely be checking them out. It sounds so great. Marissa, thank you so much for everything that you're doing in the online poetry world and community and with your press. I am dying to ask. I want to ask both of you. I'm going to ask Mackenzie first, and then Marissa. Mackenzie, so you are a horror fan, you have this desire to write horror. How did you get started with writing and pursuing publishing with these horror short stories? Did you have like a professor in college who was like, go for it, Mackenzie? Or were you always writing these stories and then you were just sending them out? How'd you get started? And I want to pass the same question to Marissa in just a moment about how you got started. Mackenzie. Yeah.
So I've been writing since I was little, stories that, I think one of my stories, my mom actually found it a month or so ago. She got abducted by aliens at work, and then it was revealed that she was an FBI agent.
Oh my God. Mackenzie, that's incredible.
Very lofty plot for, but yes, I've been writing for a while. In high school, I had a teacher, Mr. Fisher, who really encouraged it. I got to do a senior project in high school that was a horror novella. And that was a lot of fun to write. I'd like to revisit that eventually one day. And then in college, I had a specialization in creative writing and took a bunch of fiction courses. And the professors there were incredibly supportive. Dana Sonnenschein, Tim Parrish, Robin Troy, they all just were so helpful and supportive and encouraging when it came to writing. In my senior year, I wrote a collection for my thesis. I wrote a collection of feminist macabre short fiction.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love writing. I feel like there's so much inspiration out there, and there's so many things to say. So yeah, that's really what I was working on during school. And then, once you start the 9 to 5, it gets to be a little more difficult, and it's harder to either find the time or the inspiration. And I think the first few years of working, really, I did kind of stutter as a writer. But then I was like, I don't feel the same. I love doing this so much. I really need to carve out time. I owe it to myself to do that.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard, but you're doing it.
Yeah. So I've been just writing as much as possible. And I found so many helpful resources on Facebook and the call for submission pages that they have. Nice. I still keep in touch with my professors, and every once in a while, I'll do a workshop with them. And then I have an amazing writers group, the Northern Connecticut Writers Workshop. They are fantastic and supportive, and I'm just so grateful I've been able to work with them and share my work with them and read their work, because they are so talented.
That is so great. You can kind of see that thread of like your motivation, your dedication, and just the support and the different communities you've been a part of. That's awesome, Mackenzie. Marissa, what about you? You have all of these incredible communities right now, but like, how did you get started writing and publishing your writing? And then we have to go to our famous last question.
So high school English probably was the very first place that I really got serious about writing, and was published in the journal in our high school. And then through college, I wrote on every thing I could get my hands on throughout college, napkins, pieces of paper, receipts, like this before all the techie stuff. And then bridged into a screenplay. One of my friends said, you should make this into a screenplay, and I did. So I've done a couple screenplays, worked in film here in New Mexico. I don't think I'll ever do a screenplay again. I think that changed like 5 years off my life. But yes, it's so much fun. I love learning new things, doing new things. I remember the first time I hit 100,000 words in a novel, and that was like, for me, that was like such an achievement for me. And that's close to 10 years ago now. Wow. And then, I had all this poetry, and so for me to assemble books and, to do it has been just so much fun. Wonderful. But if you think you have to start early to learn how to do this, you don't. If you think you have to, like, you do not have to have an education to write. You do not have to have an MFA to write. You do not know how to have grammar and punctuation to write. Your story is your story. It's valid, it's important, and no one else can tell your story but you. That's and right. It's legacy work. So because you see two authors up here who have an education and have experience under their belt, please do not let that dissuade you or stop you from writing. Believe it or not, the majority of the poets who we've launched are not postgraduate level authors. This is their debut collection. Many of them have never even been to college. So please, please, please just write.
Woo!
That sounds an awful lot like a pearl of wisdom, Katie, doesn't it?
That sounds like a fabulous pearl of wisdom, and that's our last. That's our famous last double question. For tell them our famous last double question.
It's give us a pearl of wisdom for writers, and which you just did, Marissa, like in like fantastic pearl of wisdom there. Part 2 of it is a book recommendation. So Marissa, let's get a book recommendation on the tail of your pearl of wisdom.
I would get A.J. Houston's Black Book of Black. It's necessary reading, 12 years and older, like absolutely. Nice. A.J. Houston's Black Book of Black. Also, Dr. Martina McGowan's I Am the Rage. Yes. Are some of my absolute favorite. I'm only looking like locally within our poetry community because like I know that the big poets out there in the world, you get plenty of press. And neither of these poets are part of my press. Okay, so I'm telling you, go get A.J. Houston's Black Book of Black. Right. Also, another poet who I absolutely think is so valuable and necessary is Nathaniel Beck. And he's been our guest before. We love Nathaniel twice. We just featured him, I think, last week on the double feature. He's sensational. Dig into your pockets and go buy these artist books, the author copies, the author books. Just do it. Like, surround yourself with poetry. Go to these open mics. Get your feet wet, but in a place you feel safe, please. Yes. Go do it.
Yes, Marissa, thank you so much. Those are fabulous recommendations and so many fabulous pearls of wisdom. Thank you so much. Mackenzie, same over to you, a pearl of wisdom for emerging writers, new writers, any writers, and a recommendation.
I think a pearl of wisdom, not sure if it's wisdom, maybe just some empathy, is to be kind to yourself as much as possible, and the importance of being kind to yourself, because if you decide to share your work and you're submitting to publications, you're going to get rejection. You're going to hear no. Some no's might be like a no for now, but yes for the future. And you got to remember that at least you're trying, and love yourself for making the effort. Don't bully yourself over the rejection. Like, just really try. I know it's difficult and you can't get disheartened, but really try to be kind to yourself throughout, the writing process. If you experience writer's block, it's okay. We all do. And, it's just, don't hate yourself for, writer's block or rejections. Like, really try to be compassionate to yourself and protect your heart, because I think for most writers, that's what we write. We write our heart, we write our true selves. And it can be scary to put that out there into the world. So
totally.
I use the totem when I'm writing and I go to the dark places. I have a physical totem that I touch and I hold on to when I'm done and I come out of those dark spaces. So find something close to you that you can touch and use, like tactily, if you're like me. Because when you go to those dark spaces, like Mackenzie said, sometimes you can re-victimize yourself or re-traumatize yourself.
Right.
And so you need to acknowledge to yourself that you're no longer there and that's no longer happening, and allow it to move through you, all the emotions to move through you, because they'll leave you and then you can bring yourself back.
I love that. Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Mackenzie. And your recommendation, Mackenzie.
Okay, well, my favorite short story collection of all time is Karen Russell's Vampires in the Lemon Grove. And I think there's something there for everybody, whether you like horror, whether you like magical realism. Absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. So
Fabulous. What an amazing, electrifying night from two incredible special guests, writers here, Mackenzie Hurlbert, Marissa Prada. Woo! Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much to our audience on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You both have to go and see all of the comments and love that you got in the chat on Facebook and YouTube. Twitter kind of shows up later. But anyways, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Mackenzie.
Great work.
It was wonderful. And next week, we will see you with Chris.
Yes, I guess next week we have Meg McGovern and Tom Siegel.
Yes. Very exciting. All right. Have a good night, everyone.